All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing well. This is the sales meeting, the September sales meeting of the West Cobb branch of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors. And it is Tuesday, September 1st. Can y'all believe it's September already? My goodness, where on earth did August go? It went by very quickly. Just a couple of things I want to start off with. Number one, it is busy out there. I'm hoping you guys have all experienced the busyness as well. But I know my phone has been blowing up. The support line is blowing up. I know those of you who are on Rockstars have seen the Rockstars questions. This is a great thing. The public out there still needs y'all's help. They're still buying, they are still selling, and we need more inventory. So I strongly suggest you focus on doing what you need to do to get listings, get listings, get listings. They are selling very quickly. And for you listing agents, well, for listing agents and for selling agents, it is as stressful a market to be a fast market that we're in as it is in a slow market. For buyers, it gets a little trying, and the emotions start to increase when our buyers are losing out on house after house after house. And for you listing agents, same thing. It's a completely different market when you, number one, have to sift and sort through a variety of multiple offers and work with your client to figure out what is offering the best terms for your client. And then if the client accepts an offer and then it disappears, well, gosh, what do you do now? So we've talked about backup offers. We've talked about contingent offers. If you guys have any questions about that, I'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions. Contingencies, you guys make sure that you understand the contingencies. We've had I've fielded a lot of questions lately on contingencies, even some of the financing contingencies, the appraisal contingencies. The appraisal contingency is a completely separate contingency than the financing contingency. The appraisal contingency has to do with, is the house sufficient collateral for the loan should the borrower go into default and the bank has to take back the house and resell it to recoup their money. Financing contingency is the person a low enough risk for the lender to lend them the money so that they won't go into foreclosure and will continue to pay. So even though those two, financing and appraisal contingencies, are both on one form, both in the GAR loan exhibits as well as in the RE form on the purchase and sale agreement itself, they are two separate contingencies. Now they're interrelated, but they are separate. So just wanted to mention that a little bit. And again, there are a myriad of resources for your assistance. There's me. You can reach out to me. Obviously, if I'm on a meeting or teaching a class, I can't help. But if not, the best way to get me is either email or text. There are your compliance brokers, Dawn Southern and Kim Murray. There is a ton of information that is bandied about on the Facebook, the Rockstars group, and that is just Maximum One agents. Now, for contract questions, we also have the support at my Maximum One email address, and that's really designed for contract questions. You can ask contract questions on Rockstars, but that's more of a thing, and I'm learning a ton of information excuse me, there too. What contractor do you have here? What is I saw one last night, I think it was, what is the time frame on land soil tests right now in Paulding, things like that. So just a ton of resources out there for you guys. We have a ton of information in the reference section of Paperless Pipeline. And if you go to eagentweb.com, you will also see the tile that says training videos. We have been recording a lot of our CE classes that we've been teaching. And so not only can you see the video recording of that, but you also have access to all the handouts. If there are any handouts with the class, I've attached them and you can download the PDF. And I know for the contract classes, I've got copies of the training contracts with all of the points underlined as well. So just wanted to let some of you guys know where some of those resources are. And then I'll come back and talk a little bit more. But I think we've got Amee on here. Jay is still trying to connect. He was on and he lost his internet. So Amee, if you're ready, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey guys, I was having issues connecting this morning as well, and I cannot get the video piece to work. So I apologize profusely. I'm sorry. A couple of different things. One, please remember that we are now into tax season. Cobb County has come out. City of Marietta has come out. City of Kennesaw is not out yet. Smyrna comes out this month. Cherokee is the 22nd. Paulding is the 15th. All these counties are going to start having their tax bills coming out. It's going to change, and your sellers don't understand a lot of times that although we are collecting the full tax bill from them, it is a lien on title once posted. So once that is posted, it is lien on title, and I have to collect it. It does not matter that it is not due until October 15th. It only matters that it is now posted, and now I have to collect it. So I want to remind you guys of that, and the sellers seem to not be understanding as well that piece of it. We will not net their escrows out of their payoffs right now. And we are making sure that if the tax bill is, even though the escrow account may have released the taxes, we are not going to not hold back taxes on those accounts, even if we can see on their statement. And I want to explain to you guys why. And so you guys at this meeting this morning are going to have a little bit of information that a lot of realtors don't seem to have information on, and they don't get this information because it's kind of one of those things in real estate law that we as attorneys just always handle. We get a lot of questions where they will come into closing and say, oh, they've already dispersed it out of my escrow account, the money for the tax bill, you don't need to collect it. That is absolutely categorically not accurate. And here's why. The escrow department with the mortgage lender is very different than the servicing department. It's a completely different department, set up completely different. If they call their customer service line, they are going to be told, yes, we've sent it out and we've paid for it. That is not true. They have removed it from their escrow account, but in most cases, they haven't even released the payment yet. And unless they can show a cleared check or clear wire from the bank to the county tax office, we still have to collect it. And here's another caveat to that. We still have to collect it no matter what, because if they then turn around and disperse it and find that there's a shortage, it's going to short our payoff. So we have to be very, very careful in this. What we are doing is we are sending them all in right now. In about probably another week or two, we will start holding those tax bills, and we will hold those tax bills back until we can see that the other check is cleared. And if it does not clear by the October 15th payment deadline, or the deadline for the county that we're holding it back for, we'll overnight them a couple of days prior just to make sure it gets posted on time and to make sure they don't get hit with a 10% late penalty. If it posts, then we'll send them the check back. If it doesn't, we'll go ahead and send it into the county, and the county will remit the check back to them in some cases. So, or they'll send it back to us to remit back. I'm telling you guys all this because I get a lot of calls from now until December wanting us to not collect county taxes. And if it's not showing as the county is paid, the bottom line is I have to collect it. Because just because the lender is telling them that they've released it doesn't mean they've actually released it. It only means that they've removed it from their escrow account and that they may be holding it in their mass account. So think about it this way. Wells Fargo, for example, what we're told from the county is that they'll get one electronic transfer for all of the Wells Fargo accounts in that county referencing the different parcel ID numbers. And then they have to sort through that transfer to be able to post all those payments. So until they actually have a cleared line or a cleared check or a cleared thing, we still have to collect it, or until it's posted at the county. So I hope you guys understand that. I hope that makes sense to y'all. We're seeing just a ton of this coming up. 'Tis tax season. Want to go over a couple of things. I know Jay's going to go over sort of the standing of the market with you guys. I just want to share what we have seen this month. I do think that there is a tightening.
Amy, before you go on, just a couple questions about the taxes.
I can't hear you.
So, can you hear me now? Hello?
Mm-hmm.
So
I can. Go ahead.
okay, so agents need to make sure that their people know one way or another, if a seller feels they double paid, they're gonna get reimbursed from one place or the other, correct?
Absolutely. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we
And
had a number of situations last year where oh, go ahead.
well, and then the other thing is some of the counties have it online where you can go see if it has been posted. Is that true? Is that what you guys look at?
Most of them do, almost all, yes, almost all of them have it online. In fact, I can't think of any counties that don't have it online now because of the Q Public website. The counties that don't maintain their own sites now use Q Public, and you can go on there and look. Some of them have a direct link when you go into the tax assessor site, like Paulding, you go into the tax assessor site, it takes you directly to Q Public. So you can go in there and look for some of the, outer counties. I would just say to you this, we are going to have to collect the tax bills if they are unpaid as of the day of closing, and we're going to hold that money. Sometimes it's because there ends up being a shortage because they release them within a day or so and there's a shortage on the escrows, or one way or another, they'll get their monies back. We had a number of situations last year where the banks told them that they had already paid it. They ended up getting the escrow account back from the lender because when they got our wire, they had not yet released it. And so they got our wire in advance of the release, so they got the money back from the lender. So one way or the other, they will get their funds back.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the only other thing that really, the only other thing that I really have, going on right now is I want to go through some things that are going on in the market right now. I do think there's a tightening of lending practices going on with some lenders. I will tell you, I have not had this situation come up in a very, very, very long time. We actually had 5 closings in the month of August that be between the day, 48 hours prior to or the day of closing were denied their loan.
Wow.
And that has not happened in a very, very, very long time. And it's last minute loan denials on things. And 2 of them were told the market, or the underwriter, the lending terms changed after they went under their application. And so we're getting all these reasons for it. I will say this to you. I know that some people will look at numbers and they don't agree with me on this, but I have done this long enough that I am telling you it happens. I think we are seeing the pre-election slump. Right before a 4-year election or a major election, we tend to see a little bit of a slowdown with real estate closings because people kind of don't know what's going on or what's going to happen depending on who gets elected. So they get a little nervous there, or they just want to wait until after the election to buy and sell. I will tell you that I think is part of it. And then the other part of it, you probably saw in the news that a lot of credit card companies are now reducing the available credit on credit cards. This is not good for your buyers and consumers, because if you have a $10,000 credit limit and you owe, let's say $2,500, you're not at a 50%, use of that money. But if you lower that credit limit to $4,000 and they've got a $2,500 balance, that's a much higher balance on a lower amount. I just want you guys to be aware of some of these things that are going on in the market. Not sure really what's driving some of this, other than the concern of some of the layoffs that have happened. Job growth numbers were, better than anticipated. So I just think that there's a lot going on in the market. I just want you to be aware of it. And I say all of this to you to remind you of this. I've never been an advocate, will never be an advocate of you allowing someone to move into a property early. Because in 3 of those occasions, they had allowed the buyers to move in because the loan had already been delayed once by the 8 days, and they went ahead and allowed them to move in. You need to have a very frank conversation with your clients regarding letting them move in early, as to whether the sellers are going to allow that or not. And I'm just trying to protect your sellers on this, because in 3 of those cases, again, the buyers had already moved into the property. So it can be quite a mess. And I just want to caution you on that. It's really up to the sellers. It's their decision to make. It's just your job to advise them. I have not had, again, that many closings fall apart in that close of a time to closing in a very long time. So it just, sort of brought up a pause to me to think about and to share with you what I was seeing. Along that lines, we have, it looks like I've got everybody's name. All of you that are online today are going to, I've got you guys a Yeti cup here at the office. So whenever you have time to stop by and pick it up, I've got your names here, and you've got a Yeti cup with your name on it here at my office. So stop by whenever you want to pick it up, and they will have it for you here. So whenever you feel like doing that, just come on by and pick that up. We're going to do something each month going forward just to try to get more people to join us on the online system. So next time you stop by the office, next time you have a closing with us, or next time you're just in my area, stop on by, because I've got your name on all of these. And I think I have everybody's name. So I've got, yes, I've got everybody. So just whenever you're by, come on by and pick up your Yeti cup. It's a nice little coffee cup with a handle. So we're going into fall. Everybody's going to be drinking their, you know, spiced, pumpkin spiced, whatever you guys drink. I think I'm the only person in the world that doesn't drink pumpkin spiced anything. So, but you're welcome to stop by and get something. And then also we're going to be doing a lunch handout with your office. I've got to get that finalized, the date finalized for that. And it's going to be just a drive-by pickup lunch for you guys for the office. And we'll send out a notice about a week in advance to get the number of people that want to come by and pick up lunch. And you'll just be driving through the parking lot, and we'll just be handing out lunch to you. Just trying to maintain the social distancing, but still being able to see everybody.
Wonderful. Cool, cool. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Amee? We got, oh, you are great. Thank you, Amee Davis. Thanks. Awesome. Thank you. You guys can unmute yourself also if you want to ask Amee any questions. All right. I don't see anything. Perfect.
I don't either.
Thank you so much, Amee. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jay, we're going to turn it over to you.
All righty. Well, good morning, everybody. Had some internet issues there for a minute, so hopefully I don't duplicate anything that Amee was talking about or saying. Biggest thing on my side of the ledger here on all the lending stuff that's going on is that we did actually see rates tick up a little bit between when we spoke last time and now. Not bad, and we're talking about low 3s versus high 2s for most people in the current market. But when we have that, it creates a real interesting dynamic where there's genuine concerns that rates, even though they're still low, they're going to go back down to where they were. So when we see that in the marketplace, we lose a lot of the yield. So if you remember from last month's meeting, we talked about how there's possibilities or opportunities to give customers slightly higher interest rates. And in exchange for that rate, we can cover some of or a lot of their closing costs, especially if it's a competitive situation where we're trying not to ask for closing or to ask for the minimum amount of closing costs from the seller. When we're in a market like we're in right now, where rates have creeped up on us a little bit, and there's a genuine thought that rates might come back down, we lose a lot of that yield. Basically, investors don't want to give away a bunch of money to close loans at higher interest rates because there's concerns that people might just go and refinance that loan in 6 months or 12 months down the road, and then they never recoup that credit that they gave away to cover closing costs. So just know that, just be aware that that's some of what we're seeing in the marketplace today. Other thing, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they still keep kind of changing their rules and adjusting things for COVID-19 and coronavirus and all that. I've ran into a whole bunch of self-employed customers here lately. We're trying to get a lot of these people done with 1 year of tax returns, but it's real tough to get people approved right now. Say, 2019's returns still aren't due yet. They extended all those deadlines because of coronavirus. And to try to qualify someone with a 2018 tax return, and we're in September of 2020, that can be a challenge from an underwriting standpoint. So just know that, be aware of that. Again, we're working through it. We're getting the files closed. Amee, I can tell you I didn't have any last minute files not closed this month or in the month of August. So I hate to hear that, but it definitely happens. But so we're.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about you. I never have that issue with yours.
Yeah, we usually figure out a way to get them done. What I am seeing right now, though, is just as a data point that kind of does piggyback off something Amee was talking about, is, credit is something that we're always working with on customers. It's just a part of it. And I think everybody in here knows, if not, it's always good to re-mention. We can absolutely do soft credit pulls. So we can see where the customer's credit scores are at without that counting as an inquiry or a hit or having it affect their credit score at all. And a lot of times we'll do that for customers in the middle of the process, or kind of as we're trying to wrap up the process, just to see if their scores come up a little bit. Maybe we can get them a little bit better interest rate or something like that. More than normal, usually it stays about the same. A lot of times we don't do it if customers' credit's good or good enough, they're happy with their loan. But more often than not here lately, we've been seeing credit scores drop pretty significantly for customers throughout the process. So just know that. Obviously, again, we're not using that as ammunition to deny the loan. We're not declining the loan because we're doing that. We're just trying to see if we can get the customer maybe a little bit better interest rate, or save them some money on some closing costs or something like that. But just know that for whatever reason, I'm seeing more and more of those scores come back lower than higher right now. So,
and just to comment on that, Jay, if I may,
sure.
You guys, especially now, we've got Labor Day coming up next Monday. So every place is having Labor Day sales, and your buyers that are so excited about their new home and want new furnishings and new this and new that, you guys have got to remind them. Jay, please comment a little bit about these, all of these retail stores that same as cash, no interest, how that affects their credit.
Well, those are the worst possible accounts you can have. Those are through finance companies. And part of how credit works is customers get graded based off what other similar people or similar consumers do with their credit profiles. They try to find other credit profiles that match your client or our client's credit information, and they see how those people performed on their credit debts, and then they give them a credit score based off the probability of them defaulting or not. For whatever reason, and I think we all can probably figure this out, people that take out finance company loans, your Wilkes Finance or things like that, those payday loans, stuff like that, those are people that probably need some money, and those are loans that have a high likelihood of not getting paid back on time. So those people typically have pretty bad credit, pretty low credit scores. Well, for you or me or someone else, even if you have phenomenal credit, if you go to a Rooms to Go, or I guess H.H. Gregg's out of business now, but places like that that offer those 12 months, same as cash type financing, those are offered through the same type of finance companies that your Wilkes Finances of the world offer. So just know that those people, even I had a customer one time, he had like a 780 credit score. He went and applied for it, decided not to even do it, but just applied for one of those 12 months same as cash loans or whatever. And no, actually he got approved for it. So the account got open, even though he didn't use it. So he didn't have a balance, but he did have the account. His credit score went from a 760 to like a 680. So he lost about 80 points just by opening up that account. And it's not because he did anything wrong. It's just now he got lumped in with everybody else that opens up those types of accounts. It was considered a much higher risk credit profile now, and the score went down. So just be aware of that. I always tell people the reason you have good credit is to use it. But at the same time, if people are looking to purchase homes or really looking to, not hurt their credit score, everybody's always worried about inquiries, but the biggest thing to be worried about is payment history and the types of accounts that people have.
Jay.
Yes, ma'am.
So how long does that affect your credit when that happens? Say you do apply for that furniture loan. How long is it gonna show a ding?
It's a great question. That account is going to be open for 7 years. Okay, so it's going to have some type of impact on the credit profile and the credit score for 7 years, or as long as that account remains open. When it's closed, it's not going to fall off the credit profile until 7 years after it's closed.
Okay, so but say that person, starts making payments immediately and has got good credit history beyond that. Does it still affect that overall credit number?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. So if we want to get real technical here, guys, credit, the way the mortgage credit scorecards work is there's actually 10 different scorecards and they're labeled alphabetically. So you have scorecard A, B, C, D, E, all the way down through J. Okay. And you're on one of those scorecards, I'm on one of those scorecards, but no one has any control as to which scorecard you actually fall on or fall underneath, except the J scorecard. That's specifically for people that have filed bankruptcy. Okay, so you could potentially control getting on that scorecard by going and filing bankruptcy. So in all of those different scorecards, different actions are weighted differently. That's why when you get online, it says, oh, inquiries might have a 5 to 15% effect of your credit score, or payment history is 30 to 40%. Well, the reason the percentages are different is because it depends on which scorecard you're actually getting graded underneath. And which scorecard you fall under, it has to do with your individual credit profile and how that matches other similar credit profiles like we were talking about. Make sense? So you might get lumped in with the A's or the B's or the G's or whatever it is. When people start taking out those finance loans, finance company loans, if they've never had one, it always moves their scorecard. Makes sense? So there's going to be scorecards for people who take out those types of accounts. There's going to be scorecards for people who don't have those types of accounts. So people will still have good credit. It's not saying that their credit's going to be shot or blown up. It just means that realistically, you're going to get graded on a different scorecard if you go open up a bunch of finance accounts or finance company accounts if you've never opened up those before. It's just like if you've got 1 year worth of credit card history versus 20 years of credit card history, you're probably on a different scorecard. If you have mortgage payment history versus no mortgage payment history, you're on a different scorecard. So it gets real complicated in a hurry. I think we all know that. That's why when we tell people we're working on credit, the first guarantee is that there's no guarantees. But obviously we can point people the right direction. But one of the worst things people can do is to go open a finance account. When we're asking people to go open up credit cards, we never recommend that they open up a JCPenney's card or a Belt card or anything like that. Those are the worst types of credit cards you can have. You want to have traditional bank credit cards, your Capital Ones, Regions, Bank of America, all those other ugly mortgage company names that we don't like to talk about, things like that.
Jay, can you just comment quickly on those commercials we're seeing lately? I think Experion is one where it says, call and we'll boost your credit score by 80 points for free, all that stuff.
So Experion Boost is a service they're offering. What they're doing is they're taking people's utility payment history and actually for a fee, they're adding that to people's credit profiles so they can get credit for the fact that they paid their power bill or gas bill or water bill or whatever it is on time. It does work. The problem with it is that the Experion's pretty much the only one that's doing it. They're the ones that have made a big concerted effort to do that. And if it only improves your Experian credit score and Equifax and TransUnion stay the same, well, we go off the middle score, every mortgage company does. So it's really not that helpful. It can be helpful. I think TransUnion's recently launched a program where they're starting to do the same thing. So ultimately, it may be something that helps people. It is a monthly subscription. Obviously, it's not going to help people if they've been late on their power bill or their gas bill or something like that, because then we're just going to be adding late payment history to their credit scores. But yeah, all the Experion Boost stuff is pretty much adding utility payment history and things that traditionally people, one of the big misconceptions is people will call and say, oh, well, I pay my debit card on time, or I opened up a debit card, or I pay my power bill on time. Well, that typically doesn't affect credit. Experion Boost would be a way to maybe take advantage of that. And again, it can be helpful. In my experience, though, it's really not overly helpful. It's probably better for people to work on more traditional stuff, establishing credit card history and stuff like that.
And then as a lender, if any of our agents have a borrower that's sort of on the edge or anything like that, do you, through Homestar, have a rapid rescore, have some things to help our clients?
Absolutely. So we still do rapid rescores. They're not very rapid right now because of coronavirus. TransUnion specifically, I think they're at about a 2.5, 3 week turn time to get their rescores updated. And by the time we've waited that long, it's typically reported to the bureaus anyway. But for those of you that aren't familiar, rapid rescore would be if a customer say they have a credit card with a $500 limit and a $400 balance, they can pay that down to $100 or $50 and paying that credit card down with it not being maxed out anymore, that can have a real big impact and really improve their credit score. And just so you know, credit cards are considered to be maxed out if the customer owes 50% or more of the high limit. Okay, so a $500 credit card, if the customer owes $250 or more on that card, that's considered to be maxed out. So they're going to see a score increase when they get it down to 249. They'll see another score increase when they get it down below about 30% of the high limit. And then they see another increase once it's basically paid off, you know, $5 balance, $12 balance, something like that. We can simulate all that. We have resources and tools where we can actually pull credit and run people through what we call a what if simulator. So I can go through and alter their credit report and predict with pretty reasonable accuracy what will happen to the score. And we can look at doing rescores and things like that. There's lots and lots of different things we do a lot of times behind the scenes, working on people's credit, like we talked about earlier, soft pulls, things like that. Just know if I'm talking to a customer and I call you up and say, hey, this customer is not credit ready, we've gone through lots of efforts to make sure they are not credit worthy or credit ready yet. And it's usually, you know, I always tell people, you didn't get into bad credit overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. It usually takes some time to rebuild it.
Jay, can you talk on one thing? Because I have a lot of realtors come to me saying, I lost a deal because I had somebody who was just getting out of bankruptcy. And I know there are a lot of things going on with people who are coming out of bankruptcy and a lot of things going on with them going through certain types of bankruptcy. Can you just touch on when, specifically when they go through a reconsolidation of debt and get on debt payments for their bankruptcy, and tell them how that will work? Because we're seeing a lot of people coming out of bankruptcy right now for whatever reasons. And I'm seeing a lot of realtors sort of miss an opportunity with their clients because they aren't aware of certain loan programs out there or what they can and can't do.
Good question. So it's kind of funny if people are like, oh, they just came out of bankruptcy, so I lost a deal. No, that deal was lost a while ago, probably back when they filed it and they were doing it, right? Okay. So the rules on bankruptcy, and again, it changes for every loan program. So let's just talk about the most aggressive loan programs, which for bankruptcy is typically going to be FHA. And there's two different types of bankruptcies, right? Most people either file a Chapter 13 or a Chapter 7. Chapter 13 is the debt consolidation payment arrangement debt plan. And Amee, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they passed the law just a couple of years ago where you have to do a 13 first before they roll it all into the 7. Basically, they want to make sure that you have exhausted the opportunity of actually trying to pay your debts off before you're able to just wipe everything out in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Chapter 13, the rule for FHA is you have to be inside the bankruptcy for a minimum of a year. You have to have made all the payments on time for that year. So you got 12 months of on-time payment history. Then we can get a customer into an FHA loan, counting that payment against them, as long as we have trustee approval, meaning we have to get approval from the court system that that customer is allowed to go buy a house. Trustee approval on an FHA loan, guys, I say about 50% get approved on FHA. The challenge with FHA is that FHA loans require a down payment. It's 3.5% down. And most trustees look at it and go, oh, you've saved up money for a down payment. You know, yes, I've got $10,000 saved up for a down payment. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, that's great. Why don't you send that money to us and we'll take care of this bankruptcy first. And then once your bankruptcy is wrapped up, then you can go buy a house. So I have a lot better success on that for 100% financing programs like USDA or VA because it's no down payment anyway. So I have a much higher success rate of those getting approved. Again, if the customer can show where it makes financial sense, I'm paying $1,800 a month in rent. My new house payment's only going to be $1,500. I see that approved. I don't typically see it approved if they go from $800 in rent to $1,200 in monthly payment and they're putting money down and they just want court approval because they do have those obligations to deal with. So Chapter 13, 1 year on-time payment history, court approval, it works. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, where they wiped out all the debt, it's 2 years from the discharge date before they can purchase. So if we have a customer, like I had a customer call me recently, and she was totally frustrated with me. I don't know why she was frustrated with me personally, but she was in the middle of a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and it was going to get discharged in August. And we were talking in July. And she's like, yeah, so in August, I won't even have this debt. So I'm good to go. I want to buy a house. Like, she wanted to buy a house now and wanted to make sure she didn't have to wait till August. And I had to explain to her, Mrs. Customer, you have to wait until August 2 years from now. And she really didn't like that update. So some people, I think it's just a misunderstanding, really don't get it. But no, we're not interested in lending a whole bunch of money to people who just filed bankruptcy. It's just not prudent lending practices. But those are the basic rules to know. 1 year on-time payments for Chapter 13, 2 years after discharge date for a Chapter 7. If the customer has a mortgage tied up in the Chapter 7 on an FHA loan, it's going to count as a foreclosure. So it's going to be 3 years from the foreclosure date. If there's no foreclosure, no mortgage tied up in it, then it'll just be 2 years from the bankruptcy discharge date. And that changes if it's USDA or conventional. If you have specific questions, y'all can get with me, and we'll go through it. But it's those are typically your most aggressive timelines.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just one side note on bankruptcies, just because they're doing a bankruptcy and they're having to sell a primary residence, don't be afraid to do that. If you're the listing agent, I am happy to walk you guys through how to handle a bankruptcy sale. And they can walk away. Often they do walk away from the closing with some funds, because under the federal rules for bankruptcy, they're entitled to part of that money. The attorney just needs to make sure that they submit it with a request for you to be paid your commission and get an order from the court stating that. But I'm happy to walk y'all through it. So don't turn down a bankruptcy listing or a listing with somebody that has a bankruptcy because you're concerned that you don't know how to handle it or what's going to happen. I'm always happy to help y'all through those.
Okay, so Jay, this is Tamika.
Hey.
Got a question?
Sure.
So I've heard about authorized user. How does that help or not help a customer, a client?
Authorized users are one of the dirty little tricks or dirty secrets we use sometimes to improve people's credit score. So what I typically tell customers, it works best for customers who have limited or very little credit history, right?
Right.
Just an individual who either has never really done a lot of credit, or a young kid maybe just graduating college or whatever, looking to buy a house and just doesn't have a whole lot of credit history. I typically recommend that they talk to their mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandmother, something like that, someone who's got a couple of good trade lines. Typically, authorized users are going to be on credit cards. And it's real easy to add people as an authorized user. In fact, I just added myself to my wife's credit card account this month. Mainly, it was a convenience thing, so we could both use the same account and consolidate kind of the expenditures and stuff to one account. But it's real easy to do. And when we add it, so for example, on this account where I added myself, we've had that account. I think she's had that account in her name for probably 5 years, 6 years. Never had a late payment. The balance has always stayed low. We pay it off every month. So by me adding myself to that account, my personal credit score should go up, because it doesn't account from the day that I started as an authorized user. I'll get that full account history added to my credit profile. Okay.
Right.
So when customers do that, it absolutely can be helpful to their score. It's obviously not helpful if we add them to an authorized user that has recent late payments.
Right.
It's not helpful if we add them to an authorized user account where the grandmother owes $900 on a card with $1,000 limit, because now we've just added a maxed out credit card to the customer's credit. But long story short, that is a very quick way, kind of a slick way to build credit history that's not accurate on a customer's credit profile to help them improve their credit score and buy a house. So we're recording this, right, Dana? So all that's out there publicly now. That's great, yeah, on YouTube. But and guys, just so you know, I mean, if you do a Google search, you'll find this. There's websites out there where people can actually go buy trade lines and get them added to their credit profile. I think you're going to start seeing some new rules and stuff come into play to try to account for that or get rid of that. But there's really just not a way. They're kind of, right now, it's something that's ahead of the curve when it comes to looking at people's credit profiles. If you remember years and years ago, the big thing was disputed trade lines. The credit repair companies that were disputing everything and getting stuff deleted, even if it was legitimate, off of people's credit scores. So now we have, and for several years, we've had different rules when we see a bunch of disputed trade lines on credit reports. I think we're going to start seeing some different rules come into play with authorized users. In a way, we do kind of have some rules in play, but I think they're going to be tightening up that as this becomes more and more prevalent in the industry. But for right now, if we have a customer that's borderline or someone who just doesn't have a lot of credit, but are good customers, it's a good way to improve their credit score and get them into either a loan program or perhaps a better loan program than they otherwise would have qualified for.
Okay, and one more question.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to, like, when you said you sometimes recommend that customers open a credit card account.
Yeah.
Now, so when they charge something, should they pay it off before the bill or wait till the bill comes and then pay it off?
I always recommend that they, whatever, just pay it. Like, don't go late. Because a lot of times people that don't have credit, they open it up and then they forget about it. And the reason I tell people I'll tell people to, as you're pumping gas, as soon as you're done, you put on that credit card, call the 1-800 number on the card as you're getting in your car and make the payment. And that's not because that necessarily is going to help their credit. It's because I don't want them to miss the bill. It comes in the mail. I was out of town. Oh, shoot, now I've got a late fee, and I don't think I should have to pay that late fee. So they pay just the balance, but don't pay the late fee. And then that goes like you name it. Like I've seen it. I've been doing this long enough where I've seen a bunch of crazy stuff. The most important thing is they actually make the payment. So I don't really care if they make it, the day before it's due or the day it's due or 2 weeks before it's due. Just don't miss the payment. The whole point is to improve credit, right? So that's the biggest thing.
I know I hate, because sometimes I know when I try to do it is, once I charge something and then I want to make the payment right away. But some cards actually will not let you make a payment on the card until there's a balance.
That's absolutely right. And some of them, I've had people make a payment. They charge something, they wait a couple of days, balance shows up, make the payment, charge something else. Well, then they're limited. They're only allowed to make one payment every 30 days or something. So then they have to wait till it cycles back around before they'll even accept their payment. We could have a whole discussion about that and how it works. That kind of stuff really frustrates me. But at the end of the day, the point is that the customers need to monitor that stuff, really pay attention, and make sure that they're on top of making that payment before it's due, that they're not going late on this stuff. Because again, the whole point is to establish a good trade line, and trade lines that go late are not helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, we can probably talk about credit for days, guys. Any other questions? So my 3 rules of thumb, and we've talked about this, I'm sure, in the past. Customers, you, your friend, your mom, potential client, whoever, anyone that wants to improve credit, the 3 rules of thumb are always make your current payments on time. Big surprise there, right? Make payments on time. Leave old collections alone. Don't pay off old collections. And then the third thing is credit card balances. If you have credit card balances, pay them down. If we don't have credit cards, go open a credit card and start establishing credit card history. These are bank credit cards, again, not your Belk, not your JCPenney's cards, but true bank cards that you can use anywhere, right? A Bank of America card or a SunTrust secured credit cards, things like that. Those are helpful. And those are the 3 things. If people do that, their scores will go up.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions for Jay?
And then I'll match Amy's deal. If y'all want to swing by the office, I've got a Xander Team Yeti cup for you. We actually have 2, so you can pick from like a coffee cup or one that might be a little bit better for holding your wine. So you can use Amy's to drink coffee and wake up in the morning, and you can use mine to drink some wine in the evening and wind down in the fall. How about that?
Sounds good.
What a team we are, Jay.
Hey, got to figure it out.
Lots of drinking going on.
I'm gonna see if I can grab one. I'll show you on the thing what it looks like. Give me 1 second.
Awesome. Well, while Jay is getting that, so the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that Maximum One is building our own building that is going to be a Maximum One mega office. And we are so excited about that. It's going to be all one level. It's going to have a huge parking lot. And did you find the cup, Jay? Did you find it?
Thought I had one upstairs. Keisha's going downstairs to grab it for me. So it'll be, we're gonna have a big unveiling here in about 30 seconds. So let's get excited.
So the building is going to be next to the Paulding Wellstar Hospital. So not on Highway 278, but on Charles Hardy, just a little bit past the hospital. So probably without traffic, less than 10 minutes away from the current West Cobb office. So we are so excited about that. Dave is designing it. And if any of you guys,
Dana,
yes.
Did you mean C.H. James, not Hardy?
I meant C.H. James. Whatever the road, what's the what Dallas Highway turns into?
C.H. James.
Bill Caruth. Bill Caruth. It's
okay.
Oh.
If you go out of West Cobb, you have to take a right to make that U-turn. You make that U-turn. You keep going down that road. You're going to pass that Walmart on the right. You're going to keep going. You're going to pass Hardy Chevrolet and all the other new brands that he has. You're going to cross over to Highway 278. You're going to see Paulding Wellstar Hospital on your right, and you're going to see that new gas station. I think it's a QT on your left. You keep going straight, and it's just a little bit past the Paulding Wellstar Hospital on that same side of the road. So if any of y'all have been by the Powers Ferry office, the decorating, the interior is going to be decorated similarly to that. If you have not been by there, you guys, that office looks like a hotel lobby. It does not look like, it is very upscale and swanky, and will absolutely make you and your customers and your clients and your co-op agents really excited to meet there. He's going to have a big reception area. We're going to have conference rooms. We're going to have a huge training room that we can subdivide into smaller training rooms. We're going to have, he's got a concept for wings. So we're going to have a wing with single agent offices, a wing with double agent offices, a wing for teams. We're going to have like a workroom, not like the current workroom now. Well, we're going to have a current workroom like similarly to what we have now with the machines, the copy machines, but we're going to have a workroom like, the only word I can think of is like a bullpen. For any of you guys who have been in real estate for many years, you know, a lot of the traditional companies always had like a bullpen where you could come in and work, where you don't necessarily have to rent an office space, but can have a little bit of a private area where you can come in and work. The outdoor, it's going to be an outdoor patio. He's going to put a grill in there. It's going to have outdoor seating with umbrellas and all that stuff. So we are really, really, really excited. And it is a conglomeration of the West Cobb office, the Paulding office, and the Douglasville office. So we are just, the synergy of the agent involvement and the production level and the excitement is just going to make each and every one of us skyrocket in terms of excitement and enthusiasm and production and the sharing of knowledge and ideas. We really are just over the moon about it. So I know one of the questions is, well, gosh, what about a West Cobb presence, a West Cobb presence? You guys, your signs are the presence in West Cobb. I can't tell you the last time we got an actual walk-in customer into the West Cobb office. We have the sign on the road, but if you're not looking for it, how many of you all see it? And like I said, I know we are not getting walk-in customers. So the presence in West Cobb is still there. There are a gazillion Maximum One real estate signs all over West Cobb, all over East Cobb, all over all of Metro Atlanta. My husband and I travel, and when we're driving, we're in some of the most out of the way places and you're like, oh my gosh, look, there's a maximum 1 sign. So it's really, really exciting. So I know that that is an initial concern, but the office, as awesome as it is not we're not going to lose any of that West Cobb momentum and presence because y'all have signs up all over. Additionally, there is nothing in GREC license laws for media, marketing, and advertising that has anything about your mailing address having to be on any of your self-promotional marketing and advertising. So you don't have to put an address on your business card. You don't have to put an address on your flyers where you're doing self-promotion. As a matter of fact, you can put an address on there, but you don't have to. And you guys in Atlanta, in this marketplace right now, you guys know how it is. If you've been in business for any number of years, you will live, work, and play in Powder Springs, in Marietta, and inevitably you're going to get a client in Stone Mountain. You're going to get a client downtown. You're going to get a client somewhere. And once you get one client there, you know how it is. You're going to get more than one client there. So you live, work, and play. You might live and play in one area, but you work all throughout Metro Atlanta. That's how it is in where we live. People commute miles and miles away from where they work. So phase 1 of this is we are initially consolidating to the Paulding office, the current Paulding office, which is on Highway 278. And it is basically at the intersection. So how I told you guys to go, if you come out of West Cobb, you have to take a right to make that U-turn. You go down, you keep going, you're going to see a sign after Macklin that says, I believe it says Atlanta Highway. It's Highway 6. If you take a left there, that will cross over Highway 278 and go right into the Highland Pavilion, which is where the current Paulding office is. If you are on Highway 278, you'll see a big sign that says Animal Arc. The ARC, it's an animal veterinary hospital. So that is going to be the current location until the new building is up and running. So the West Cobb office is we are going to close down services there the end of September. We are also closing down Douglasville the end of September. So we are going to, if you need anything physically, you've got copy machines and all that stuff in the Paulding office. For earnest money checks, you guys have BankShot. If you don't have BankShot, there is all the instructions and information in the reference section on Paperless Pipeline. And I might redo a video on that. With BankShot, you just use your smartphone and you can deposit your earnest money checks. You can deposit your commission checks. I will publish again the address of the Paulding office. I'm trying to think what else. We are all here to help and facilitate. You also have remote earnest money deposit through any Chase Bank, and the instructions for that are in the reference section of Paperless Pipeline. And while we're on that topic, for wire earnest money, you guys, we will not email you wire instructions for your earnest money. And we prohibit you as agents from emailing wire instructions to your clients from us or from a closing attorney. Let the closing attorney deliver the wire instructions to the clients themselves. So make sure when you guys are contracting on your purchase and sale agreements and you know that earnest money is going to be a wire, make sure you put in a long enough time frame in there for us to mail the wire instructions to your client. Or you can come by the office and pick up the wire instructions and you can physically hand them to your client. But also do not email wire instructions. As a matter of fact, in the GAR and the RE forms purchase and sale agreements, it specifically states do not trust any wire instructions that you receive via regular email. Now, I know some of the closing attorneys, and Amee, you might comment on this, have some, can't think of the word, protected emails.
Encrypted.
Just know that about wire instructions. We've had
Dana,
yes.
got a question about that. I put together a buyer notebook for my clients. Can I get the wire instructions and have that as a piece in my packet?
Absolutely.
McKay, that is exactly what we're recommending that you do, is have the wire instructions already in there for earnest money, whether it's going to be them holding it or us holding it. When y'all come by to get your cups, we will put together there's one on title insurance I'll give you that you can add to your thing that tells them why title insurance is important. And then there's also one on there about being careful about, it's just a little postcard thing that tells them all the things to watch for on their, I'm trying to reconnect the video, I'm sorry. All the things to watch on their wires, how to present those, what to do with those, what to be careful of, how to sort of, check to see if there's fraud, how to handle calling to verify the wire information before they ever send the wire. Some banks are now requiring, before they'll even send the wire out, the banks are now calling us to confirm wire instructions for our company. The biggest thing is, we had this happen 2 weeks ago. It did not happen because of our office. It actually happened because a realtor's email got hacked. She had an email account that got hacked, and we recommended that everybody in the transaction change their passwords because her email got hacked. We found out the day after that it was her email because she started getting a lot of emails back saying, I'm getting spam from you. But they had changed the wiring instructions, and the buyer was savvy enough to say, someone along the process told me to call and verify, and I looked it up online to get your number, and I need to verify your information, and it wasn't ours. So, and then we also had, with that same transaction, the lender had received new wire instructions for the loan proceeds as well. We had our IT people check. It was not coming from us. Guys, I cannot implore you enough not to get involved with the wiring information and not to get involved with emailing it. Especially do not email wire instructions to anyone for any reason. If your client can't come by here and pick them up and work with us to come get their wire instructions for their closing, then you guys need to tell them, you've got to figure it out. This is your responsibility in this day and age. You've got to be careful. The other thing I want to just point out to you guys, I'm hearing a lot of people tell me that it's taking them days to get in to be able to do wires.
Yeah.
They need to go the week before closing and get their wires sent. I had a gentleman with one of the big banks and a lady with one of the big banks tell me that it was taking them 7 days to get into any branch near them to be able to do their wire. And we were 3 or 4 days out from closing. We ended up having to delay the closing because we could not get their wire because they didn't have, quote unquote, a time to see them to come in to get their wires sent out.
And something else on that, guys, lenders, we can absolutely give customers an idea, but it's never going to be accurate to the penny, even the day of closing. I mean, how many times do you get the final CD and you look at it and you're like, oh, wait a minute, one number's wrong. It changes things a few dollars.
That's right.
So I think it really helps on your side as well if you set expectations with the customer of, look, it's going to be close and your lender can get you a number, but it's not going to be 100% accurate. Just wire a little bit too much. If we think it's going to be 11,370, I always tell people, wire 12,000, wire 11,800, and then the attorney can always cut them back a check for the difference. But there's no reason to set customers' expectations that they have to wait until the number's absolutely bottom line final. They can go ahead and wire money, have it over there, and then we can reconcile the numbers at the table and make sure they either write a check for the difference or get a check back from Amee for the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And as Amee said, you guys, it is the emails that are getting hacked. So absolutely get the wire instructions and physically hand them to your buyers when you first meet them so that there won't be any delay, especially regarding the earnest money portion of it. And our accounts don't change. These are trust accounts, so they don't change that often. If ours do, you guys know the way we communicate, once you guys are on board with us, the main way that we communicate with you from the brokerage to the agents is through the Sunday newsletter, This Week at Maximum One. So if there is a change, we will more than likely send it out through there. Or if you hear anything or hear any buzz, please feel free to pick up the phone and call any one of us to verify if there has or has not been a change. We have not changed ours in years. We did have to change them back a few years ago because they got hacked, but we got through all of that. Any other questions about anything?
Dana, there's one in the chat. They were asking about if we add an authorized user, does the original person, like the person who had the actual trade line, does their score go down if they add someone as an authorized user? Lena, the answer to that is no. It shouldn't affect their credit profile at all. It'll just help the person who's being added. And then also I did get, this is the wine Yeti cup that we have. So it's small, simple, fits in your hand real well. Obviously you've got, if you can get close to the camera here, you got the team phone number. You can give us a shout, but like I said, just swing by. We'll get you one of these, or we have a little bit bigger one if you'd like, the bigger blue one that we have.
The triple X like Xander Cage.
The what now?
Triple X like Xander Cage, triple X.
Triple X? No, not triple X. That's just one X. But no, everything's being branded right now as Xander Team. So I've got a couple assistants working with me now. So if you call and you get Keisha on the phone or Julie or someone, just know that's us. But we're just, I'm trying to add people so where we don't miss phone calls and trying to prevent people from going to voicemail as much as possible.
And everybody, just so you know, both Jay and Amee did put in their addresses on the, in the chat. All right. Anybody else? Any questions? Anything I can answer? Terrific. Well, we are looking forward. We will have the drive-by picnic from Amee, and we will get together with Amee and get a date on that and get the news out to you guys. And we're looking forward to that. Also, just so you guys know, Maximum One is closed next Monday for Labor Day. You guys still have 24/7 access with your key fobs. You will also have 24/7 access with your key fob to the Paulding office, the Powers Ferry office, and the Woodstock office. They're all on the same key fob system. Awesome. And I think that's it. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week and a happy September. Happy fall. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks. Thanks, Dana.
Bye, Amee. Thank you.